Oldham.
So we're going to debate this for you now. Really interesting to hear your views if you'd like to send them to me via @kburley on Twitter. And this is a quote from Dame Louise Casey, who put the report together. She said, "We need more of a spirit of unity, compassion and kindness that brings people together under our common British values of tolerance, democracy, equality and respect." So we found this poster a little bit earlier on. You'll remember that it was used during the EU campaign Breaking Point. These people fleeing war. The EU has failed us all. One wonders which bits of tolerance, democracy, equality and respect that box ticks. Let's discuss it, should we? The Associate Director of the right-leaning think tank, the Henry Jackson Society, Douglas Murray, and former Chief Superintendent with the Metropolitan Police, Dal Babu, joining us now. Hello to you both. Thank you for joining us on Sky News this afternoon. Douglas, to you first of all, if I may. We highlighted that poster to start with. I mean, that doesn't necessarily tick those boxes of compassion, tolerance, democracy and equality, does it?
Well, to my mind, I mean, those are very fine values, but they don't, on their own, epitomise what Britain is or what people who are in Britain should aspire to do or behave like. It's a very strange debate, this, if I may say, because 15 years ago, a Labour government brought out the Cantwell report, which said very similar things. Louise Casey is to be congratulated on the depth and the resilience of her report. But we've all known the things she highlights for a very long time. What's strange, if I may say so, is that consecutive now Labour and Conservative governments have recognised that these are the problems and these are the parameters of the problems. And yet, among other things, their immigration targets continue to be failed, which means that the problems described in the Cantwell report 15 years ago and the Casey review now are going to grow and grow rather than diminish, because it is not only an identity question, it is also a speed and numbers question.
Former Chief Superintendent, you're hearing there what Douglas has to say. The question we're asking is Britain more divided than ever? Presumably the answer, from your perspective, also has to be yes. And what can be done about it?
Well, I don't think it is divided. I think if you look at the Ted Cantwell review, which was in response to the disorder in Bradford, Oldham and Burnley, it says that one of the most important things was interactions between individuals. And I'm pleased to say one aspect of the report, Louise Casey's report, talks about greater integration in schools, and your report showed a good example of that. It also talked about the need for English to be taught.
With all due respect, sorry to interrupt you, former Chief Superintendent, but it also shows huge divides as well within a small community of Oldham.
It does, but I think it also shows positiveness in terms of the school that you identified. I think the thing that worries me is the report hasn't really moved on. If you look at Scarman, if you look at Heseltine, if you look at Ted Cantwell, it seems to have said it presented the problems, but not the solutions. It hasn't been brave enough to say we need to ask the institutions, we asked local government, we need to ask Kirklees Council, why it's virtually an all-white hierarchy. I think the top 5 levels are virtually all white. If you look at a report I did very recently for Harrow Council, the top 4 levels were all white in London, and Harrow Council is the most religiously diverse borough in Europe. So I think there's a challenge, and I think where Louise has missed out, unfortunately, is asking the institutions what they are doing to actually move the question, move this forward. So, and it's not fair to blame the communities. This is a two-way flight. The gentleman there you showed who says he would move if an Asian family moved next door just shows the challenge that we have. You know, it's not a one-way thing. And the report mentioned Muslims 245 times. You know, it mentioned the Jewish community 16 times. So I'm confused. Was this a report about Muslims or was this a report about integration?
Could I fill you in on that then? I mean, it's actually about the whole of our society. There are sections on, for instance, homophobia in the Anglican Church. There is lots of detail in the report on Roma and Roma lack of integration or successful integration strategies. So it's by no means all about Muslims. The fact is, though, and I think it's just ridiculous to ignore the fact that it is within Muslim communities in the UK that the worst integration challenges exist. It is from the Muslim communities in the UK that the greatest security problems come. It is from those communities that very, very regressive views on women, other religious minorities, sexual minorities and so on come from. And as for this sort of, you know, the assumption that we could sort of really get this right by simply getting one strand of it correct, which is really one of the things you read about and hear about in all of the coverage of the Casey Review. I can't stress enough, there is too much in this whole discussion that looks at solving something which is getting harder by the day because the government keeps on bringing in vast numbers of people, despite their promises, whilst identifying a problem. And it seems to me to be ludicrous to say we all now recognise from all parts of the political spectrum that the integration has not worked. Why would you, at the same time as conceding that, keep on bringing people in at such a historically high rate? That makes no sense. You could have the best integration strategy imaginable, and nobody knows, incidentally, what that would look like, and you would still have the problem if you had such historic high levels of immigration.
Okay. Dal, it's a numbers question.
Well, the numbers I will go back to, Muslims are mentioned 245 times, and I'd be interested to see what other figures they are. I mean, Jewish community are mentioned 16 times. If you look at Golders Green, it's a predominantly Jewish area, vibrant area.
With all due respect, do you want to pick up, we heard you say that the first time, do you want to pick up on what we were hearing there? And it's the fact that there are so many people who are migrating to the United Kingdom from the Middle East, from Eritrea, from countries like that, who are, according to our other contributor, predominantly Muslim.
Well, I mean, I don't share those views at all. I don't think they pose a threat. I think it's racist to suggest that people who are Muslim are linked to terrorism per se. And I think that what worries me is that this report has not looked at the real issues and has missed the opportunity to think of solutions. And I don't accept that Muslims pose a threat in terms of terrorism. I mean, if you look at what happened in Ireland when we had the issues with the Catholic community and the Protestant community, you know, we had to work with the community, and we need to work with the Muslim community and look at the individuals. And there is a small, nobody's denying there is a small.
Hold on. Yes, you can, but hold on.
But I just find it very, very worrying if this report continues to attack Muslims, and we've missed the opportunity. I would like to know what are the solutions. You know, we're hearing a lot about immigration. Not all the immigrants that are coming into this country are Muslim. This is about how do we bring solutions forward.
The report of Louise Casey, first of all, can I just stress something that's important? The report is 200 pages long, and it was released at midnight. Neither Dal nor I have had the time, nor has anybody else, to absorb the entire report. It's a very long, very complex and detailed work which deserves attention to be paid to the entirety of it before entirely writing it off. So that's the first thing. The second thing is it is clear from just reading the executive summary that this is most certainly not only about Muslims or Islam. But to pick up on Dal's point there about, he said, it's an extraordinary, ridiculous thing to say that it's racist to talk about whether or not Muslim communities have any security threat from within them. The police admit that, the security services admit that, every single major politician across the political divide recognises that. And I'd remind Dal of one thing in particular. In the last year, 2 Muslims have been killed in the UK. And do you know who they were killed by? They were killed by other Muslims who thought that they were from the wrong type of religious sect from within Islam. Those are unbelievably regressive views. They are the sort of things that Louise Casey has been picking up on. And they are the sort of thing that deserve a unanimous pushback from people across every community.
OK, there's an awful lot of white people being killed by white people as well, just to make that point. Final thought from you, Dal.
Well, I think what we need to do is look at the positives, and I think what Louise says about learning English and ensuring that greater integration in schools is really, really positive. But unfortunately, there has been an undue focus on Muslims, and what will be picked on by bigots and racists is that element. And they'll forget all the positive things that are in this report.
OK. Sadly, gentlemen, we're out of time. Come back and talk to us again soon. We appreciate it. Thank you. Still to come on the programme.
You didn't frankly have the balls to put country before party.